if you're doing an exercise like that where you're loping and you're making a correction and you feel like you're losing control in your body. So, for example, let's say I'm loping to the left. So I have my right leg in her, I have her hip in, I have the long, loose rein, and I hold my reins in my right hand. And then my left arm is down by my side. I should be able to pick my left hand up, pick up on the rein in rhythm of the lope, and then set her back down and not feel like I change anything else in my body. I shouldn't feel like I lose weight in either of my stirrups or either of my seat bones. I shouldn't feel like my body tips forward. I shouldn't feel like my head falls to the left. I shouldn't feel like my body is collapsing in any way and I'm losing stability. Because if I lose stability in my body, how is my horse going to maintain stability through their body? And if your horse can't maintain stability, then it can't maintain that rhythm. Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach.
All right, you guys, this is your host, Ellie. As you can probably hear my spurs, I am out in the barn walking the horse around. And I'm just going to do a quick episode today to talk about what I notice and what I try to feel in my own body as I get to the barn and I'm preparing to ride. So I've done pre-ride routines on the show and throughout different episodes given different tips for exercises and that sort of stuff. But I don't want to focus on specific exercises. I just want to tell you what I do for my body when I get to the barn. So I think that movement is really important when you're preparing to ride. So if you have a desk job and you're going from sitting all day to sitting in the car to then going to the barn and immediately hopping on your horse, your body is not going to react very well to that. Your muscles are not going to be engaged. Your body's going to be tight. Your joints are going to be not willing to move. Your mind is not going to be ready. Like, there needs to be a transition period between doing sedentary activities to doing higher intensity activities. So I try to make sure that during my day I'm getting as much movement as I can just to make that transition period easier on myself. So I try to make sure I go for a walk before I head out to the barn, or that I do some foam rolling or some yoga. I don't necessarily always recommend doing like a full weighted workout before you go and ride, but in some cases it can actually be beneficial because, like I said, movement is really important right before you ride. So I'm not necessarily against doing a lighter weight workout before you go and ride, just making sure that you get a good carb fueled meal in before, maybe get some rest, make sure you get lots of fluids, make sure you're not too sore from your workout, make sure you get plenty of stretching in afterwards, like set your body up for success. And then I might also, like, if you have some muscles that are chronically tight, like for me, my back is always tight because I have a back injury. So I get up and I foam roll my back pretty much every day, first thing in the morning. And that just relieves tension right at the beginning of my day so that I can move freer throughout the day. So if you find that you're somebody who struggles with chronic tightness, like you have some areas that are always tight, I recommend doing some foam rolling, doing some stretching, doing some mobility first thing when you wake up. It doesn't need to be an hour. It can be 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just get into that habit, that routine, and you'll be amazed at how much freer you feel in your body during the day. And then once I get to the barn, I like to walk with my horse. So something that we talked about in a recent episode, the one about why you should walk more, I mentioned that walking boosts creativity. It has so many different health benefits, but I also just feel like it gets your mind and your body ready for a ride. It gets you connected with your horse. So I like to just take the time when I get to the barn and just walk the horse around the arena. I try not to go straight from the horse being in its stall to the horse lunging or riding, the exact same reasons that I just mentioned why we shouldn't go from a sedentary activity to a higher intense activity. Your mind and your body is just not going to be ready. It needs a longer transition period. So I like to take the horse out, walk them around, see how they're feeling today. Are they feeling tight anywhere? Are they feeling a little bit frisky, right? Like I want to know where their mind and their body is on that day, because every day is going to be different for horses and for people. And I just like to get a good baseline to know, like, all right, is the horse or myself showing any signs that we might struggle with some things today? So that's what I'm doing right now. I just got to the barn, planning on riding and just walking around. I'm probably on like lap 8 or so, and my horse is really calm. She's kind of got her nose down in the dirt, not reacting to the traffic going on nearby, not reacting to the birds flying around in the rafters. I've got a little bit of a pigeon problem at the barn right now. That's always fun. Love having a pigeon dive bomb you when you're riding. So one thing that I'm noticing about my body today, so I also struggle with vertigo, and I'm having a much dizzier day than normal. So I'm going to treat my body with a little bit of grace today when I go to ride. I'm just going to plan on having a light ride, not going to push myself or my horse. We had some really, really intense rides last week. So just going to focus on having a light, easy ride for both of us, mentally and physically. Just feel like that's what we need today. My horse is telling me that she's calm, probably doesn't need a lunge. She's probably going to be just as happy as I am with doing kind of a light, relaxing ride. So that's my plan. I did a lower body strength training workout last night, and I always feel really good the next day after I do legs. My body just feels mobile. I don't feel tight. I feel good. And so I'm feeling that today. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling engaged. My body is mobile. My muscles are flexible. I just feel good. So I know that I'm probably going to have a good ride physically, other than the fact that my head is bothering me a little bit. So I'm definitely not going to be doing any tight turns or any haunch turns today. Hopefully horse doesn't feel like bucking around. She doesn't seem like it, but we'll see. And yeah, so just trying to get in tune with myself, with my body as I'm walking around, making sure that I've got good core engagement, preparing for the ride. So I feel my core muscles stabilizing, my trunk. So as I'm walking, making sure that I'm not getting a whole lot of side to side movement. I feel strong. I feel my glutes pushing my legs forward into my walk, getting those glutes nice and activated. I'm feeling my spine being elongated, making sure that my core muscles are lifting me up, not letting me compress, making sure that my upper back muscles are working hard to keep my shoulders back, keep good posture, just trying to get a full range of motion through my hips as I'm walking at a moderate pace. I wouldn't say an extended walk, but trying to get a lengthened stride for my horse and I to warm both of our bodies up. And yeah, we'll see how my ride goes. Thanks for coming along. Hi everyone, it's your personal trainer Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
All right. So now I am on the horse. The horse that I'm riding is Miss Minnie. I actually do not have a horse at the moment. Fun fact, I have not owned my own horse for quite a few years now, and that's for a variety of reasons. I've really been focused on building my business, making money so that I can afford my lifestyle, which includes this ridiculously expensive hobby. And I just decided that I did not want the financial stress of owning a horse while I was building a business. And not to mention that when I buy my next horse, I want it to be as nice of a horse as I can get for the money. So that obviously costs thousands of dollars. And I had my priorities elsewhere the past couple years. I bought a house this year. I got married last year. My husband just graduated from college last year. So a lot of big life things going on. And now my goal is to continue making enough money to hopefully buy a horse sometime in the near future. So for now, I'm really fortunate that I am able to take lessons at my barn with my trainer. And I usually ride the same horse. I usually ride Minnie. She's who I've been showing when I get the opportunities to show the last couple of years. She's who I showed at Level 1 West last year. And yeah, she's a great mare. And I'm just really lucky that I get to swing a leg over such a nice horse. So I'm just walking around on Minnie right now. I just got on right before I started recording this. And I'm actually the only one in the arena right now, which is really rare. We have 3 trainers in my barn, and it's really rare that I get to ride by myself. And it's a really nice day out. And it's just really sunny. I live in Oregon, so a lot of times this time of year it can be really rainy and just gross outside. And it's like, I don't know, 60 degrees outside and sunny. So I am very much so enjoying the sunshine, and it is definitely impacting my mood in a positive way. I am riding in the indoor right now, but one side of our indoor is completely open. So I'm looking at the sky right now. It's just really peaceful. It's just kind of a peaceful, quiet day. All the horses at the barn seem to be really quiet. Again, I'm not quite sure how I'm the only one in the arena right now, but I'm definitely enjoying it. Definitely helps for recording this at the moment. And as I'm walking, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not getting tense in my own back. So that's something that I really, really struggle with, is because of my back injury, my muscles tend to get really tight. And I actually also recently learned that I actually have a fused spine, which is not a result of my injury. That's something that I've likely always had. And it makes sense why my injury has bothered me so much, because I happen to fall off right where my spinal fusion is. So that makes sense, like the things that I struggle with in the saddle. So just trying to have grace for that since I learned that. Try to ask myself to do the best that I can, but I try not to get upset when I can't do something. So, for example, it's really hard for me to push a horse's hip in when I'm riding to the right. Like my left hip has a really hard time pushing, and I tend to get really tight through the rest of my body, and I lose the range of motion and the stability in my hips and my rhythm. So that just makes it really challenging. So there's a ton of construction going outside right in my arena. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but they are literally building an overpass maybe 100 feet outside the arena. And it's really loud. And our horses, thank God, do not seem to be really affected by it. It spooks us more than it spooks the horses, but it's something that I'm conscious of. So as I'm riding around, I'm just taking a look at what's going on in the construction as I pass by it, make sure that they're not unloading any gravel or driving a big truck right next by me. And if they are, sometimes I'll maybe go a different direction, or just make sure that my horse is paying attention to me, not paying attention to what's going on outside. I definitely tend to be a little bit more of a timid rider when things like that are happening. I spook way easier than the horses do, and I tend to get really tight in my own body when the horses do spook. So I try to make sure that if I feel myself starting to spook, that I just follow the motion of the horse with my hips and try not to create my own motion or stop the motion. I'm just trying to relax down into my seat. Something that Lauren mentions all the time is to try to feel the leather. So I'm trying to feel the leather through my seat bones, through my jeans, feel my stirrups evenly in my feet, feel my spine lengthening up. When we get nervous, we tend to crawl into the fetal positions and trying to make sure that I'm not doing that. And I'm just walking around, trying to keep my back loose, trying to keep my posture strong. I feel my glutes engaged, holding my legs back. I feel my upper back muscles holding my shoulders back. I feel my core muscles engaged, stabilizing my legs, stabilizing my arms. I feel that my leg muscles are engaged but loose at the same time. And when I say engaged, I mean that I can feel those muscles, but they're not inhibiting the range of motion that I have in my body. They're just on and stabilizing me as if I was working out, as if I was lifting weights. Like I would want my muscles to be on and holding my joints in a stable position, but at the same time, I still want them to be moving. So the construction noise is getting a little bit louder. I can feel my horse perking up a little bit. So I'm just picking up on my reins, making sure that I'm staying loose in my own body. And yeah, I'm going to come back in a couple minutes and keep telling you how my ride is going. Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. I wanted to take a moment to thank our very first gold sponsor, Hobby Horse Clothing Company. If you're looking for a cost effective way to elevate your look at the horse show, check out what Hobby Horse has to offer. From budget friendly crystal jackets to simple show shirts to stylish lifestyle tops, Hobby Horse has everything you need to look your best. Make sure you use code EYR2025 for an additional 10% off at checkout. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the Become a Supporter or Become a Sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t-shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
All right. So I meant to hop back on and continue recording during my ride when I was like trotting and loping and doing all that sort of stuff. And then it actually got really busy in the arena. A couple other people came in, some people started lunging. So it just got a little busy and my trainer ended up coaching a lesson. So it was just a little too loud, a little too chaotic. So thought that I would recap my ride on my drive home. So, like I mentioned earlier, I just was feeling kind of dizzy. And so I just wanted a really light ride. So if anybody else on here listening struggles with dizziness and vertigo, I find that for me, if I eat a carb fueled meal right before I go out to the barn, so for me, something that's a lot of potatoes, chickpeas, that sort of stuff, rice, usually helps me feel less dizzy. And actually, spiking my blood sugar helps as well. So eating like some candy. So I actually had some gummy worms in my car that I ate on my way to the barn, and I felt much better once I got to the barn. And just really focused on going straight and looking ahead. I really just focused on working on a long rein and doing more pleasure type things, which I have not been doing with Minnie lately. She definitely is more pleasure geared. When she came to our barn, she was only trained in the pleasure, and then we kind of started adding the all around events to her. So the pleasure is something she's very familiar and comfortable with, but it's just not something that I'm super interested in or good at, so I don't practice it a whole lot. But today I just felt like going slow and not pushing a whole lot, not doing quick turns, and just looking ahead and going straight was going to be what was going to be best for my body, which was kind of disappointing because I had some really fun rides last week where I was working on a lot of horsemanship elements. Last Friday, another girl in our barn and I each took out a horse and practiced the level 3 finals patterns for the showmanship and then the horsemanship. And then, so we'd practice on each of our horses and then we'd swap horses and practice. And so that was a lot of fun and really inspiring. And it felt really good to challenge myself and do those level 3 patterns, even though I'm not a level 3 rider. So I really enjoyed that and kind of wanted to keep building on that. When I was doing that last week, I was having trouble picking up the right lead and moving into an extension, counter canter circle, and then changing leads to the left lead. I just was having a lot of trouble with that. I was having a hard time keeping my center, staying balanced, staying forward. So I had wanted to work on that more today, and I was really excited for it. And then my body was like, yeah, no, that's not what you're going to do today. So that was a little disappointing, but something that's really important when you have some sort of a chronic condition, whether it's an injury or a disorder or whatever it is, listening to your body and, doing what you can. Part of me was like, well, should I just cancel and not even go to the barn today? But I thought, no, I'm going to go. I'm just going to listen to my body. If it says that once I get out there and all I can do is walk, then all I can do is walk. But luckily, I felt like I was good enough to ride. And the horse that I mainly ride, Minnie, I mean, I can pretty much trust that she's not gonna blow sideways and, spook and spin around and buck me off, so I, feel very comfortable, or I feel fairly comfortable riding her even when I am a little bit dizzy. I just make sure that I avoid, my tight turns, haunch turns, extensions, things like that, where my head is moving around a whole lot. So yeah, just mainly focused on, like, going forward, sitting tall, focused on a lot of my connection through my body. So something that I've really, really been focusing on the last year in my riding is having more connection to my seat. As I mentioned earlier, I recently learned that I actually have a fused spine. So I have always had a really hard time connecting to the horses through my seat and through my hips. Like, I've always had really good connection between my hand and my leg, which is probably why I've always gravitated towards the horsemanship and not towards the pleasure at all. Because I just don't have that control and that stability and that mobility and that strength in my hips to be able to hold myself where it needs to be. And it's not that I necessarily balance off the horse's face or their bit. It's more that in the horsemanship, I'm able to hold my body in a stronger position for myself. And that position allows me to be more effective. So I could do horsemanship on a pleasure style rein and feel more comfortable, if that makes sense. So the last year, I've really been trying to do the pleasure more to get myself more comfortable with it, both mentally and physically. Even though I don't have a lot of interest in showing in the pleasure, I think that practicing things that make you uncomfortable and that you're not very good at make you better for the things that you want to do. So I noticed that when I practice more of the pleasure and riding through my hips and less through my hand, it makes me more connected to the horse when I go to ride the horsemanship. It makes the horse's overall quality of movement higher. I find that I am more present and slowed down. So even though the horsemanship is meant to be snappy and quick, sometimes I get in the habit of being too snappy and too quick and not waiting for the horse enough. And so sometimes I like to do like a hard horsemanship ride and then slow it down into the pleasure and really just focus on waiting, making myself wait, making the horse wait, really making sure that the horse is listening to my cues and listening to my body. So that's what I did today. And it was actually really nice. I think that Minnie really appreciated having like a slow, calm, easy ride because the last time that I rode her, it was pretty intense.
She had not only me, but the other girl in my barn practicing level 3 patterns. And while many can sure step up and do the patterns, so it's by no means what we practice at home all the time. I'm not a level 3 rider. Her owner is not a level 3 rider. It's just not, she's just not used to being pushed to that level. And I was actually fairly surprised how well she did with it. So I was proud of her when we did that last week. But yeah, so for the ride today, I did a lot of long rectangular shapes. I like to ride off the rail a lot, even when I'm practicing the pleasure. I just like to make sure that I'm not using the wall at all. And I would say one of the hardest parts for me with the pleasure is definitely the corners. I just tend to lose like my center of knowing where my body is and being able to have control over my body and the horse. So, like the walk and the jog, fairly easy, but then the lope, when you're supposed to keep their hip in and almost kind of pivot around, I have a really, really hard time with. And I would imagine that a lot of that does come from my spinal fusion. Like, I just don't have that ability to twist my lower spine and maintain stability and range of motion through my hips. So, I was just kind of working on making sure that when I was turning, even though I'm much better at it at the walk, at the jog, that I was really focusing on making sure that I was turning through my hips and staying even through the rest of my body. So a lot of times when I go through a turn, my hips will push laterally to the right and then my shoulders fall down to the left. And then I come out of the corner just not straight, and the horse's shoulders are usually pushed to the outside, and then I'm just not set up for success for whatever I'm doing next. So I was just trying to make sure that through each element that I was setting myself up for whatever I was doing next. So if I was doing a corner to a straight line, I tried to make sure that my horse and my body stayed really straight through that corner and didn't leak out one way or the other. So practicing that in the pleasure format where I'm long loose rein, not holding the horse up tight, that really allowed me to be able to tell, okay, am I telling the horse to go in the way that I want her to properly? And is she listening to where I want her to go? And overall, we actually did really well today. I felt like she was staying underneath me very well. She was going where I wanted her to go. She was soft. She was round. She felt really good. I felt really good physically. Like I didn't feel very limited by my back at all, which was really nice. Obviously, I had my head limitation, but it is what it is. And just another thing that I've been focusing on is I have a really hard time putting weight in my right stirrup when I'm going to the right. Like I just get all discombobulated. It's just really hard for me to maintain a proper body position. And then it is just hard for me to maintain the horse's proper body position. So I was making sure that I could feel even weight in my stirrups, my seat bones, and just on the left and right sides of my body as I was going to the right today. So starting from the balls of my feet, making sure that like I could close my eyes and I could feel that even weight, and then I could open my eyes and do a different maneuver and still have even weight. So I could go like I could do a transition like from a walk to a jog or a jog to a lope or a lope to a walk, any sort of transition and still maintain that even weight in my stirrups. And if I couldn't, then that told me that I was getting off balance somewhere in my hips. Something that I find both in exercise and in riding, that if we're having issues in our feet, it's usually coming from higher up, usually the hips. And for me, I going to the right want to put way more weight in my left seat bone and in my left stirrup just to give my back more stability. So I've really been trying to make sure that I'm center and that my shoulders and my hips are pointing straight, that I have even weight in my seat bones and in my feet. For me, it's easier to feel that I have even weight in my stirrups than in my seat. I think that, like I said earlier, it's just because I have a harder time connecting to my seat with the horse. And so I try to feel, okay, am I even in my stirrups? Because if I'm even in my stirrups, I'm more than likely going to also be even in my hips. So I was able to do that better today than in times before, and definitely better than in the past where I haven't been as strong. These past like 6 months or so, I've made leaps and bounds in my core strength and my core stability. And I think I've been able to do that because I started adding in more weights to my core exercises. I didn't necessarily change the exercises themselves. I just started adding in weights. So if I'm doing an exercise in my back, I'll hold a weight out in front of me, or if I'm doing a standing core exercise, I'll hold a weight in my arms. And that I've been really, really happy with the progress that I've made there. I just feel so more connected to my body, connected to my arms, my legs, through my torso, and then in turn more connected to my horse. So if you're having a hard time finding connection to your horse, I definitely recommend increasing your core strength. Some of my favorite exercises are mountain climbers, dead bugs, standing marches, standing bird dogs, side planks, Haloff presses, basically anything that forces your torso to stabilize your arms and legs. I'm a really, really big fan of, because that's what you have to do when you ride. Your torso has to stabilize your arms and legs. So I try to make sure that I'm doing that, trying to mimic that in my core exercises. And yeah, another thing that I worked on in my ride was just trying to maintain rhythm through my body. So something that my trainer's been working on with me a lot is maintaining rhythm through my corrections. I don't know why that's not something I ever really thought about before I came to my current trainer. I'm more focused on like, were they going where I wanted them to, and was their body where I wanted it to be? And I didn't really focus on like as much how it looked and was it in rhythm. And so Savannah always tells me to, like, if I'm going to pick up on the horse, that the horse can't lose their rhythm while I'm picking up on them. So today, Minnie, when I was practicing the pleasure lope, she would much rather become like a loosey goosey hot dog instead of like staying rounded up through her back and collected through her face. And so I was working on at the lope, when she would get long and low and stick her and just kind of hollow out, that I would pick up on my reins with my left hand and just kind of say, hey, like, come back to me. And I would make sure that I wasn't changing anything else in my body when that was happening to try to help maintain her rhythm. So if you feel like you're doing an exercise like that where you're loping and you're making a correction and you feel like you're losing control in your body. So for example, let's say I'm loping to the left. So I have my right leg in her, I have her hip in, I have the long loose rein, and I hold my reins in my right hand. And then my left arm is down by my side. I should be able to pick my left hand up, pick up on the rein in rhythm of the lope, and then set her back down and not feel like I change anything else in my body. I shouldn't feel like I lose weight in either of my stirrups or either of my seat bones. I shouldn't feel like my body tips forward. I shouldn't feel like my head falls to the left. I shouldn't feel like my body is collapsing in any way and I'm losing stability. Because if I lose stability in my body, how is my horse going to maintain stability through their body? And if your horse can't maintain stability, then it can't maintain that rhythm. So that is super, super important. And if you're struggling with that, then you need more core stability exercises. So bunch of different types and ways to do that. But just making sure that when you're doing your exercises, like let's say a bicep curl, for example, you could do your bicep curl standing on an unstable surface like a balance pad, a Bosu ball, a balance board, things like that. And when you're doing your bicep curls, make sure that your body isn't following the rhythm of the bicep curl. So as you go to lift your weights up, your body should not fall back. And as you go to push your weights down, your body should not fall forward, right? Like you should be able to maintain independence from the exercise with the rest of your body. Another good example is like a mountain climber. So a mountain climber is when you're in a high plank position and you alternate bringing one knee forward at a time. You should be able to do a mountain climber while pretending that there's a glass of water sitting on your spine. And you should be so steady through your spine that as you go to alternate bringing one leg back and forth, that theoretical glass of water does not fall off. Or let's say that you're doing a single leg balance. If I go to do a horsemanship position and just balance on one leg, I should shift my weight over into the leg that I'm going to balance on. And then once my weight is shifted over and I go to pick up the opposite leg, nothing in the rest of my body should be changing. My shoulders shouldn't be falling. My head and neck shouldn't be falling forward or back. My hips shouldn't collapse, all right? Like I should be able to maintain stability through the rest of my body. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily like specific exercises that you need to do to focus on that. Just in the exercises that you're already doing, ask your core to have more stability. So that I had success with. That was really good. Like I mentioned, sometimes I get a little timid when things start to spook me. So I really tried to make sure that I wasn't spooking myself or the horse today. And I did a really good job at that. Like I said, when I got to the barn, it was really quiet. It was really calm. Minnie was really chill, and she usually is. And I just tried to make sure that I maintained that throughout our ride. The construction started getting a little louder, and that made me a little nervous. Not because Minnie cared at all, but I cared. The pigeons kind of kept flying right above me. So I was doing a couple exercises where I would lope and then stop. And then I would stop and stand for like 30 seconds or something like that, just to make sure that I had control of my body, control of my horse's body. Like we could stop and stand still. And we did really well with that. And normally in the past, that would make me kind of nervous to stop and stand for so long. I definitely have the fight or flight response sometimes when I ride. And I have a really hard time mentally just staying still and being quiet because I feel like, well, the horse isn't, moving their feet, so they're more likely to spook. And that's just subconsciously what my body feels. And so I get anxious when I stand still. So I was standing still, and pigeons were literally flying like 5 to 10 feet above my head. And I just said, nope, you're not going to react. Your horse doesn't care. You're not going to react. She's not going to react. Everything is fine. And that was true. She didn't give a crap about the pigeons. But I gave a crap about the pigeons. And so I made sure that I wasn't causing her to reaction just because they were bothering me. And that's a big mindset shift that I've had recently. And I've been seeing a lot of positive results with that. I was spooking my horses because I was getting fearful of the environment. And that is not good for the horse's confidence, not good for my confidence. It's way more likely to get me in an accident. So really been trying to not do that, and that's been going well. It's not easy. It takes time. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of trust. It takes a good horse, but I'm happy with the progress that I'm making. So yeah, that was my ride. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to this episode. This was kind of fun and different and new. So if you like this type of episode where Lauren or I just take you through a ride and how it went and what we worked on, then we can totally do that. So thanks for listening in.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high-quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.